Welcome, everybody. Afternoon. So, Happy New Year. Welcome to 2022. What a fun year it's going to be, hopefully. Can't be worse than last year, can it? Anyway, so I'm going to be talking briefly about editing workflow and just being organized. It's something that we've done a few times recently within the Academy, and it's become quite popular. And of course, it's a little bit topical. Just turn my phone off, actually. It's going to start buzzing at this time of year because people want to get themselves organized, tidy their desks, clear out cupboards, all that kind of stuff. So that's why I'm live. Let's have a look. Who's here? Who's this? Jill, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Welcome. So before I get started, just to let you all know, let me put the website address in here, which is beyondthelensacademy.com. Beyond the Lens. Now without having to type it in too quickly, beyondthelensacademy.com. We are open for new members at the moment. We did a full frame thing, club launched just for Christmas for those that are looking to sort of get into photography from a professional point of view, or already are, and all that kind of stuff. So a whole bunch of new people. We're going to start working with them this week. Quite excited about that. But we've also opened the doors now because a few people asked about just the membership for photographers who are just love photography, not necessarily from a business point of view. And the doors are open for that. And there's let me put my banner up. I've got my banners ticking away, haven't I? There we go. That in the bottom, just to remind you. So you go to the website, you'll be able to see. So there's two levels of membership, two types of membership, monthly and annual. The annual's got 50% off at the moment, which is a bit mad, I know. And the monthly's got 20% off. So it's a good time to join. And you will see on the website, so I won't go through it all in here into detail now because I'm going to talk to you, if I can get my tongue straight, about getting yourself organized and editing workflow and so on. But it's all there. Whatever sort of level you're at, whatever you want to learn about photography, brand new camera, trying to get off auto, more advanced, trying to get action shots that are really sharp, or wildlife photography, anything in between, all of the above, is all in there. So it's a great place. And so it's definitely worth having a look. We are what's called a closed membership. People often ask me about this. And that means that we are closed the majority of the time. We open the door to new members a few times each year because we spend, as you will see, if you have a look at the website or the Facebook page, Beyond the Lens Academy, you'll see all the reviews on there about what people think about us. But we spend all our time working with our members or away on lovely signature photography trips. So that's why we can't spend all our time doing marketing. So getting organized is something that in any walk of life, in any business, is something that's really important. Jill, one of our members who just said hello in the comments, is very organized. I am all right. I have to work at it, but I'm pretty good. My desk, not that you can see it, is reasonably tidy at the moment, which is part of my New Year resolution to sort of get things organized and tidied up and a process in place. Now, when it comes to photography, whether you're a professional, which of course I am, or a hobby amateur, just got into it, been doing it for years, at any level, being organized and having some kind of workflow, particularly when it comes to editing, storing your images, is crucial. Because what will happen is you'll go out and you'll spend time on a lovely location, take hundreds of photos, if not thousands, especially if you're away for a week or so, and you'll download them onto your computer and you'll come up with a file name and a folder name for them possibly, and that'll be that. 6 months down the line, several thousand photos later, tens of thousands of photos later, you've got some images and you suddenly says, oh, those images you took of the otters on Mull or wherever it might be, I wouldn't mind seeing those. Or you might want to show them to somebody. Can you find them? If you're organized, you probably can. But if you're like the majority of us photographers out there and you're not organized and you don't have a system, you will find it difficult to find them. So, who's that? Mr. Richins, another one of our members. Happy New Year. Welcome. So, yeah, having a system is absolutely crucial. Being able to find everything in its place and the place for everything. I've got a pile of paper that's not too thick. That's over there on my desk. Not that thick. I know what's in it. And I know that pile of paper has got stuff in it that needs attention, for example. So it's that's the kind of concept of it. But when it comes to photography, we're talking about images. Cameras these days, my camera shoots at 14 frames a second. I can come back from a photo session with one client and a couple of dogs with 1,000 photos. When we go on our trips away, we're going to the Highlands in February, and we're in Mull for 2 weeks in the Hebrides in July. I'll come back with several thousand images. And so how do you get them organized? What's the process? And it's something you have to design yourself, but I'm going to share with you what I do because it works for me and it's quite simple, which is one of my sort of mantras when it comes to photography, keeping it simple. But what's important is to have a process. So before you start, or this kind of applies to both. If you are listening to this thinking, you know what, he's right, I've got all those images, they're on hard drives, they're on USBs, they're on SD cards, they're on all over the place. If you're in that position, or if you're just about to get started, this applies, and that is design a system. I don't mean a computer system. What I mean is have a process. So if you had the infamous pile of paper that I've got on the left here, right hand side even, that's that thick, and I wanted to file that away, and I got a new filing cabinet with no tabs on it, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start going, okay, well, that's bills. And before you know it, you've got 4 or 5 different piles of things. So utility bills, driving license stuff, whatever it might be, general post, action required, not action required. You'll have something that naturally comes to you in terms of how you organize your files and your paperwork. Some people do that with their emails. I don't. I've just got a massive inbox with thousands of images in there, emails in there. But photography is the same. So before you start piling in and importing things and trying to recreate folders, what's your system going to be? Now, for me, I use the client's name, because for most of the work I have to worry about in terms of cataloging and organizing it is for my clients. As a dog photographer, of which I have 1 or 2 clients to say the least, I do them by client name, as in the dog's name. And I can remember the dog's names, because when you spend a few hours with the client's dogs and you're a doggy person like I am, it's easy to remember them. But some people might prefer to sort of, if they're just an amateur or hobbyist, they might say, okay, well, I'm going to put them all in the landscapes, portraits, wildlife. I might put them in by month. I might put them in by type of photography. I might put them in by the lens I used. I might put them in by the kind of camera I use, time of year, holiday trips, all those things. So before you start getting onto your computer, which is what everybody does, they pile in and start putting stuff everywhere, just take a step back, take a deep breath, get a cup of tea, get a blank piece of paper, and just write down. Start drawing it out. Just think about it. It doesn't need to be complicated, because that becomes quite difficult then. So if you sort of say 1DX Mark III, 70-200 lens, these are folders, dogs in the sunshine in March, you're trying to remember that system is difficult. So you need to keep it simple, but what you do need to do is have some kind of system. And once you've designed that, then from an editing workflow point of view, the only thing you have to worry about then is which images from your shoot, your session, whether it's a paid session for a client or for the majority of you, I suspect you've been out and about with your camera, which a lot of people do in the new year, which is great. You've been out and you've taken loads of photographs and you managed to get some owls, or you managed to get a deer or a stag or some whatever it might be running around, some landscapes. So you'll need to sort of think, okay, I'm going to edit all these, but which ones I'm going to edit? Most cameras take quite a lot of photos quite quickly now. So you're going to import a load of photos, and then you're going to start editing. And this is where, if you've got a system designed in terms of your images, your folders and files, that's great. But you've then still got to have a methodology, if you like, of getting that 500 set of images, 1,000 images, 200 images that you've put into your Lightroom, which is what I use, into your library, organized and edited. And you don't want to edit the whole lot because it'll take you forever, but you want to pick them. So let me just get my screen set up here so I can share it for you. Let's share screen, see if this works. I've done this first time this year. Should be, we've got a few little updates going on the system, but it should be all right. Right. Let's have a little look. I think that's yeah, that looks like it's sharing. I think it is. Right. Okay, so this is Lightroom. So on the left-hand side here, if I open up that, there's lots of folders and subfolders. Now, what you will find in here, most of my client work is in fact not on here on my computer, which is what you're looking at the moment. it's actually on separate hard drives because you need to think about that from a space point of view. And I'll touch on that in a minute. But they're all little subfolders. And some of these are slightly random ones because I've got the boys doing the advanced diving and rugby and various things like that. But the process. So where do you start with images? The first thing you're going to do is going to import images. So he says, let me get an image. Plug it in. Where's my hardware? Who's been playing my phone? Here we go. I use lots of different little systems. I'm going to show you what I use here. I use one of these. So this, let me just unshare that a minute so you can see me better, so I can see you better. This, love it. There's lots of different sorts out there, but it's basically a card reader. And it's got two, when you open it up, two slots on it. One's an SD and one's a CF card. So if I plug, let me get a card with some pictures on. Let me grab my camera a second. Talk amongst yourselves while I grab my camera, the beast that it is. So you've come back, here it is, you've got your camera. Now, a couple of things I don't recommend doing, which a lot of people do, but I don't. I mean, a lot of cameras now you can do it by Wi-Fi, which is okay. But I'm not a fan of plugging the camera into my computer and downloading images that way. The reason for that is it's not that quick, point one. Point two is you've been out all day and you've had a wild time and you've taken lots of photos and it's brilliant. And you come in and you plug it in. There's a reasonable chance, you can guarantee your battery won't be as full as when you went out. And if it wasn't fully charged in the first place, or you've been out for quite a while, there's a reasonable chance said camera battery life could be quite low. And if halfway through importing 500 images, the battery suddenly drops and the thing powers down, it should be fine, but there's a risk. So don't do it, is my recommendation. So I get my card out, Exhibit A, there it is. Nice little Extreme Pro card. And then I was literally slot that into the card reader. This one here. He says, get the right way up, might help. Goes in like that. No, let me just plug this in right around the back of the computer. So I'm doing this all slowly on purpose, so you know, step by step so you can see it. So that's now plugged in. Now I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. So share screen, tick, tick, tick. Okay, now just making sure that's catching up on the other one. Yeah, it's catching up. So now we have automatically. Now this sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't. Typically, in the bottom left-hand side, you may have to click import. So I'm going to close this in a minute. But more often than not, when you plug a card into your computer, depending on how you got your computer set up, it'll go, oh, hang on, there's a new device, because that's what that sees is there's a memory device that's now appeared and plugged in, checking that's all working, and plugged into your computer, and it'll open up, if it's got Lightroom open, it'll open up the import menu, which is where we are here at the moment. But let me just cancel that a minute and go back, and let's assume your computer doesn't do that, because they don't all do it. So you're now in Lightroom, and you may be in your develop module, or you may be wherever it might be, but you want to be in the library module, which is the one at the top here. And see in the bottom left-hand side here, you've got import. Click on import. It then will show you everything on the left-hand side here, up here, look, that the computer can see. So it can see my computer. It can see that little card. This, I'll come on to these in a minute, but this is a 2 terabyte solid state hard drive for backup storage and various other things. So that's what that Extreme Pro is. And then EOS Digital is the card with all these pictures on. Now, these are all ticked, and at the moment, they're all nice and bright. The reason for that is there are a couple of settings on the right-hand side that I always use when it comes to importing. But before I get into that, once you've decided which ones you know, where the card is on the left, and you're looking at them on the screen, and I'll come on to a second about selection, it's important to think about this little bit in the top in the middle here. If I'm moving my mouse across. You want to select, well, you don't have to, but my advice would be to select copy rather than move or add, because copy does what it suggests it's going to do. It just literally just copies the images across and leaves them on the original ones on your memory card. And that's another safety net for you. So that way you're not going to get stuck halfway through a process and suddenly find that it's gone a bit pear-shaped on you or something like that. So I always use copy. Automatically, it will select them all. So if I uncheck them, that's what they look like when they're unselected, slightly grayed out. If I check the whole lot, that's what they look like. If I uncheck them again and say I want to select that one and that one and that one and that one, and then tick these little boxes here, they're ticked. Now, what I'm going to show you, if I select them all a minute, is on the right hand side here now is, so far we've plugged in our card reader. We're now looking at all the images. We've selected copy, and we are about to now get into this, like, which ones we want to import. Typically, for me, I would be importing the whole lot because it's one session on a card normally. But I'm going to show you this. I've done this on purpose just to show you, because on the top right-hand side here, there's a few little folders. These are all closed. The good news is there's not much you have to change over here. On the top here, it should show up as your computer. So that's where these images are going to be imported to, or a copy of them imported to. Under file handling, the only thing I ever worry about on here is this thing here. Don't import selected duplicates. Now, if I tick that, oh look, they've all gone dark grey, or they've all gone greyed out, whatever. That's because these images are in fact already imported on my computer. And that stops you doing the same thing twice. And we've all done it, especially when it comes out and you go and use your card. You know, you've got a 128 gigabyte card in your camera and you go out for a holiday for a couple of weeks and you're using the same card over that time. You could be importing each day and forget that you've imported some images the previous day. So I normally have that ticked. Now I'm going to untick it for the purpose of this so that I can actually show you how to import some images. So let me uncheck all of them. I don't want to import the whole lot because I don't want to completely use up the memory. So let's go and have these few here. And I'm going to tick them, tick the tiny little. So once they're selected, they're now ticked. So I've now selected the images I want to import. Now, under file handling, don't worry about anything else under there. Under file renaming, don't do anything. I don't really care what they're called. The only time I were bothered about what these files are going to be called is when I export them. That is to say, the ones I want to use. They'll go into a folder with a name, which I'll come on to in a second, but they'll automatically, as you probably can't see, but they're funny little numbers like 815912.cr2, which is a Canon RAW file format. For me, it doesn't matter. You can name them on the way in if you want. I don't see the point of it, personally. So then you've got apply during import. I don't tend to do anything here other than if you want to, you can put keywords in. This can be a useful thing. Given that we're talking about keeping organized, I've never done it, but you could, if you wanted to, start giving all your files, images that you import keywords. So I could say client photo session, Devon, Springer Spaniels, 2 dogs, liver and white, black and white. And then you can search all of your images for those words later on if you want to. So it can be useful. I don't do it, but you can do it. And next thing here, this is an important bit. Destination. So now we're into where they're going to go. So I want to put them into a subfolder. Let me just open up Macintosh here. So there's all my, this is a computer. So this is, I'm going to put them on my hard drive here, my computer, Macintosh HD. And at the moment I've got a subfolder ticked, but if I don't, they'll just go up here and there'll be a folder of a whole bunch of images. So I'm going to call subfolder, and I'm going to call it, I don't know, just for the purpose of this, 2022 thing organized. If I spell it right, I wonder if I have. I didn't do too bad, does it? Now, as you can probably see, if I scroll down, where will it be on this? Where's it gone? There it is. So it will be a subfolder, because I've ticked it and I've given it a name, organized into one folder. That's another thing I always tick. So you can do by date in the original folder, but I have it as one folder. And then wherever you tick, so if I go down here and say, oh, Bobby, click on that, this is now going to create what I've imported as a subfolder. So if you've got, for example, a system that says landscapes, and then you've got months of the year, then you'd click on the word landscape and you'd call it January, and that's where they'd go. And the next time you import them, if it's still January, you'd select the January folder. If it's now February, you'll create another subfolder called February underneath this one. That makes sense? Hope that does. But for the purpose of this, I'm going to put it under Lightroom. And it's popped it there, 2022 getting organized. And it's going to import whatever that is, 6 images, 7 images. And when you've done that, you just click import. And the little thing disappears. The screen looks different. And there's a little thing on the top left here. See it out there where the mouse is? Copy import images. That's what it's doing. So it's just now created the folder. So now I'm back into the library module in the normal phase, and I've got a folder here, look, under Lightroom, called 2022 Getting Organized. If I click on it, guess what? I can make that a bit smaller for you. You can make that. We do quite a lot of editing in the Academy. It's a big, quite an important part of photography. So here are those 7 images that have been imported. So that's step 1. That is really easy because now I know where they are and I've got a way of finding them. And now I'm going to start the next bit, which is where people often fall down because they make this too complicated. Let's assume for the purpose of this, there's only 7 images, but more often than there's going to be 30, 50, 100, 500, 1,000. And you're going to think, right, what am I going to do in terms of editing? And the way to do it is to keep it simple. In my view, there's lots of different ways of doing this, and there's no right or wrong, but this is the system I use, having tried quite a few, let me tell you, over the years. So what I'll do is I'll start at an image. I'll have a look at it here. Look, I can see this image, and I think, do you know what? That's because there's only a few images here. I'm going to make these a bit bigger, like that. And I'm going to do them one at a time. So I'll have a quick look at that and go, do you know what? That's a possible. I'm not saying it's a definite. I'm not saying it's an absolute keeper, but for the purposes of time and being quick with it, I'm just going to go, do you know what? That's a possible. And I'm just going to give it a pick flag, which the shortcut for it is pressing the letter P. And you'll see that? See, if I keep doing that, flag as pick has come up. This image now, bottom right hand, bottom left here, has got a flag. Let's go to the next one and think, do you know what? That's quite a good one as well. Now I know these are all similar, and I might not pick that one because the dog on the left is outside my depth of field. And same as that one. But let's say I want to like that one. So now I've gone and I've scanned through. Now that took seconds, but you could do that process if you're harsh with yourself and don't get too hung up on it. By 1,000 images, you could do that in a few minutes. So now what you do is you go back to the grid view, and in the top of the middle here, you'll see there's a few little things. It says none, but you can select. It's called a library filter. You can select by various different things. So I want to select by the attribute and show me all the ones I got picked. Now it is only showing me the images that I had a pick. I haven't edited them. I haven't said I definitely want them. I just said they look like possibles. And then from that position, if I go into my develop module to start editing, and you can see in the bottom left here, I'm pointing at it. You can't see me pointing at it. There are just the 3 images that have got a flag. So let's start with this one, and let's pretend we're doing some editing. So where's my crop tool? There it is. Let's do a little bit of that. I don't know. I'll do this quite quickly just to sort of simulate what's going on. Actually, you know, I might do a bit of something a bit odd, a bit rule of thirds. Let's get the highlights down because we've got a couple of very bright dogs there. Let's get the shadows out of them a little bit of texture. Let's do I'll tell you what, let's do a select subject, shall we? Under the new masking tools, see what it does. And I'll do another webinar. This is all the sort of stuff we do in the Academy, but these new masking features are quite funky, and it's done them. So now I'm going to invert that selection. So now I'm going to just drop the exposure down. Look at that, around the rest of the images. That's done. So you get the drift. You do your editing, and you get to a point where you think, you know what, I'm happy with that. That's a keeper. So what I do now is there's a star. You can give your images anywhere between 1 and 5 stars. So I'm going to give it 1. There you go. Set rating to 1. All you do is press the number 1. It's quite easy. Set rating to 1. If I give it to 2, set rating to 2, set rating to 1. So that image has now got a star. Now let's move to the next image because that got through. And let's assume, I'll tell you what, let's assume we've done an edit on that one and that one got a star as well. And then we come to this one and the background, let's do a simulation in a minute. The background is all very good, but the dog on the left is a little bit too out of focus for me. So I've done a quick crop and I've got through it and I thought, you know what? Nah, that's not going to make the cut, that one. I see your comments there, Ryan. Brilliant. Excellent. I'll come back when I can see them all when I stop sharing the screen. So maybe, yeah, I'm not overly happy with that. I don't bother doing the deleting thing here. I don't do deleting. But what I do here is go, okay, it didn't make the cut. And all I do then would be go on to the next image. So it just remains as one that got picked. It didn't get a star. And then when you get to the end, and in this case we have, because it's only 3 images, you go back to your library and you're now saying, show me the ones with an attribute of a pick flag, well, there's 3, but also that got a star. And guess what? there's your 2 images from 7 that made the cut, and they got 1 star. I used to, I don't recommend this, but I did start doing it. I had 4 stars, so I'd be doing a 5 stars. So I'd be going, some would get a 1, some would get a 3, some would get a 4, some would get a 5. You get the end of it, and you're like, well, okay, that's great. Which ones do you want? You know, that's that's a bit nuts. So I just give it a point of a pick. Means I'm interested in it. Could be a keeper. Go through the editing process. Any that get to the end that I'm happy with, get a star. That's it. No more complicated than that. And then exporting. So you've got to make sure you've got them selected. So if I select both of those, little export button down here, click on export, and this little folder comes up. The good news about this is once you've done it once, the settings kind of remain the same. So I'm going to put these in a subfolder called 2022 editing. List. All right. Well, looks fine, doesn't it? And it's going to go into my documents, but you can choose here. Look. So this is where you want to put them. So say I want to put it on a desktop. It's for quite popular, so I was just say desktop. But there we go. So I've chosen desktop. It's going to be desktop. It's going to be in a subfolder called 2022 Getting Organised. That's all I need to worry about there. File naming. Now this is where file naming is something that I use. So now I'm going to call these something. So I'm going to call these, guess what? Getting organised. For example. Now, see here, rename to. If you don't, you get this, whatever the name that comes out, you know, and it's normally a series of numbers.jpg. Because I've ticked get rename to, I've got the ability to type in custom text, which is done here, and it shows you an example below it. Look, getting organized. This is what it look like. -1, 2, 3, 4. It counts it up. But there are all these different options here. Just a custom name, a file number, a sequence. Personally, I love custom name sequence, which basically means give it a name and then it'll be a sequence of numbers. So if I export these 2 and then come back in and find another 4 or some more, then all I do is do the export again, same place, same folder, but start the number at whatever the next one, which of course would be 3. Does that make sense? So that's it. Don't need to worry about video. File settings, JPEGs. I always have them at 100% quality, or 100. If you don't have this box here ticked, they will be as big as they are. How big your sensor is, less the cropping and editing you've done. If you want them to be a specific size, I'm talking about memory space now, because you want to upload them to Facebook or you've got email, then this is what you do. Tick this. That's going to make them no bigger than 2 megabytes. And then you can have a watermark on. Let's have a little look. Little left. I'm not sure which ones of these work, actually. Let's leave that one there. And you pick your watermark there, and then you're just going to go export. Now, what it's doing now, and the top left, it's thinking about it, but it is not exporting the image. That might sound odd because you think that's what I was just talking about. What it's doing is it's taking a copy of the image that you have created via your edit, turning that into a JPEG and exporting it. Your original images, here, look, they're still here. They haven't gone anywhere. All the editing workflow, if I go into my develop module, look, all the on the left there, you can see all the develop and editing things that I've done. If I now go to my desktop, I'll find it. Where's it gone? It's a bit more disorganized here. Where's my desktop gone? There it is. There'll be a folder. There it is. There we go. So let's stop sharing. Come back in the room, as it were. Hello, Alison, another one of our members. Yes, no, it's important, Ryan. It's all part of being organised, but it's also yeah, brilliant. It's also being organised and workflow are sort of connected. One doesn't really work very well with the other, but having a workflow when it comes to editing is crucial because you will drive yourself nuts. And if you are, if you're a professional and you're doing it for a living, it will drive you nuts because you've got to get it done. You go through it, you keep going backwards and forwards. But even if you're not, and you're an amateur or beginner, or whatever, and you're editing lots of images, it can take the fun out of photography, and that is not good. You want the process to be simple to get an end result, so that you can stick them on Facebook or wherever you want to put them and show friends or get them printed and stuff. So I hope that's been helpful. As I say, not a long one, but I say that 30 minutes. But I thought let's start the new year off with getting organised and getting ourselves in some semblance of structure, because it makes all the difference. It really does. So I'm going to leave you in peace. Don't forget, as you can see, it's going across the bottom here. If you go to the website, www.beyondlensacademy.com, you can, in fact, join the membership at the moment. Just as a photography member. For professionals, that's closed now. Will be for several months probably, while we work with all our new members and some of our existing members in there, getting them up and running and earning more money for the 2022 season. But what is open is our membership, normal membership. So that's for all photographers. Now, if you have already joined, like Ryan has joined, and Jill and Ola, Alison, some Facebook page says Ola, as full frame club members, you get access to the Academy membership anyway. But that's where we talk about all the skills and editing and settings and focus settings and all that. There's absolutely tons of it in there. So if you're interested, now's the time to do it. So I'm going to leave you in peace. Busy day today, lots going on. We've got what else can I tell you while I'm here? Anybody who wants to come away on one of our trips, I'm sorting out within the academy at the moment. I put a post in our Facebook group, this private Facebook group, about the Mole trip in July. We are in the process of now getting the ferry crossing sorted out, because they get booked up really quick, because it's quite a short ferry crossing. And for those of you watching this who don't know what he's talking about, you're thinking, what's he talking about? Mole. That's where we go. We will be going here. We're there for 2 weeks, first 2 weeks in July. So you can pick any of the 2 weeks if you're interested in coming. I say that, there's 2 spaces left. So, and I've got somebody messaging me this morning, so it may only be one. It's a beautiful place. And it's what we call a photography retreat. So it is fully catered. And the photography learning is almost like on a one-to-one basis. So Alan's another friend of mine who comes along, who's a accomplished photographer. And we go out each day and we'll take photos of whatever we want to do. Eagles, otters, landscapes. And we'll be talking generally in the morning about the settings you might need, as well as in the evenings. We'll be doing we'll have nice evening meals and a few glasses of wine, quite a few. Some of those of you who've been on them will probably know, if you fancy it. And just generally discussions about editing and stuff like that. So it's a photography. It's almost like a really, really exclusive holiday with a photography twist to it. So people bring partners and stuff like that. All very possible. We've got another one, which, yes, I think there is a space on this. This is Mac Loop. It's from last year. Jim Connolly took that one of our members. And that's me up on the hill there with a couple of other guys. So that's 23rd of April. If anybody fancies that, let me know. There's 2 spaces left on that. But yeah, so we've got all those things going on. So there's absolutely tons of things happening. So I'm going to leave you in peace, because I'm whittling on now. And these 20-minute webinars turn into 32 minutes. It's not fair, is it? Because it's lunchtime and everybody's grinding back into the work mode today, I suspect. So thanks for joining the webinar, that is. But if you want to join the academy, get on with it. See you soon. See you later. Bye.